2 weeks ago, Wang Jing, a relatively unknown Chinese businessman, made waves on the global stage when he won the rights to build a rival to the Panama Canal in Nicaragua. But what does this mean for the future of global trade? Could the Nicaraguan canal project, which has been under discussion for years, actually become a reality? What challenges are the Panama Canal facing, and how might this new project reshape the global shipping industry? For over a century, the Panama Canal has been a key player in global trade. This engineering marvel, 50 miles long, connects the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, cutting thousands of miles off the travel time for ships. Without it, vessels would need to navigate around South America's Cape Horn or use other lengthy alternative routes, such as the Suez Canal. The Panama Canal has significantly shaped supply chains, reduced shipping costs, and allowed for faster delivery times across the world. However, today, this vital trade route is facing serious problems that threaten to disrupt international commerce. So, what exactly is going wrong at the Panama Canal? Why are shipping companies desperately searching for alternatives? One of the primary issues is a shocking one. The Panama Canal is running out of water. It may sound paradoxical for a waterway that connects two oceans, but the Panama Canal relies on fresh water from Gatun Lake, an artificial reservoir built over a century ago. Each time a ship passes through, millions of gallons of fresh water are lost into the ocean, and the canal has been struggling with water shortages in recent years. The situation has worsened due to a combination of shifting rainfall patterns, climate change, deforestation, and even the impacts of El Niño, all contributing to severe droughts. As a result, the water levels in Gatun Lake have dropped dramatically. When there isn't enough water, ships can't pass through. To make matters worse, some vessels have been forced to reduce their cargo to avoid running aground, while others have experienced frustrating delays, sometimes waiting for weeks to get through. At its worst, daily ship crossings at the Panama Canal dropped from 38 to just 22, drastically reducing the capacity for global shipping. The impact of this drop is significant. Imagine a world where shipments take longer to arrive. It could lead to delays in Amazon deliveries or empty shelves in local supermarkets. The Panama Canal was originally designed for much smaller ships, but today's modern Neo-Panamax vessels, which are nearly 4 football fields long and can carry up to 12,000 containers, are simply too large for the canal's infrastructure. In 2016, Panama spent $5.25 billion to expand the canal by adding a third set of locks, which allowed larger ships to pass through, doubling its capacity. However, this expansion still depends on the water from Gatun Lake. If the water isn't available, the expansion is essentially useless. Meanwhile, U.S. East Coast ports have been upgrading their infrastructure to accommodate a surge of massive ships. But with the canal struggling, those investments may not yield the expected results. Could this mean that global trade will shift back to the West Coast or use alternative routes altogether? The delays at the Panama Canal have already caused shipping costs to skyrocket. With fewer ships passing through, competition for available slots has become fierce, and some companies are paying millions of dollars extra to secure a spot. Others are avoiding the canal entirely, opting for land transport or longer sea routes instead. In fact, one surprising alternative that has emerged is the Panama Canal Railway. Some shipping companies, including global giant Maersk, have started unloading cargo on one side of Panama, loading it onto a train, and then reloading it onto another ship on the other side. Although this solution is slower and more expensive, it allows trade to continue moving. Given all these struggles, it's no wonder that other countries are looking to build their own versions of the Panama Canal. And this brings us to the Nicaraguan Canal Project, which is being called a potential rival to the Panama Canal. To understand this, we need to take a step back and look at the history of the Panama Canal. Originally, the idea of constructing a canal through Panama was first proposed in the 1500s by Spanish explorer Vasco Núñez de Balboa. However, it wasn't until the late 1800s that the French made the first real attempt to build the canal. Under the leadership of French engineer Ferdinand de Lesseps, who had successfully overseen the construction of the Suez Canal in Egypt, the French began the project in 1881. Unfortunately, the French effort ended in disaster. De Lesseps believed that Panama could have a sea-level canal, just like the Suez Canal. He ignored the warnings of engineers who cautioned that Panama's terrain was vastly different from Egypt's. The project was plagued by deadly diseases like malaria and yellow fever, which spread through the region due to the mosquitoes in the area. Thousands of workers, many from the Caribbean and France, died. The landscape itself, with its mountainous terrain and unpredictable rivers, made construction nearly impossible. By 1884, the project had ground to a halt, and by 1889, after burning through millions of francs, the French effort officially collapsed. Over 22,000 workers had died, and the project was left in ruins. The failure became one of France's biggest scandals, with figures like de Lesseps and even Gustave Eiffel, the man behind the Eiffel Tower, facing charges of fraud. Despite this failure, the world still needed a canal. And in the early 1900s, it was the United States that would step in to take over the project. The U.S., having recently gained control of territories in the Caribbean and the Pacific after the Spanish-American War, was on the rise as a global power. They recognized that a canal in Panama could be a game-changer for trade. The U.S. eventually succeeded in completing the Panama Canal, which officially opened in 1914. The canal transformed global trade, and for a century it remained the most important shortcut for shipping between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. But today, as the Panama Canal faces significant challenges, the idea of a rival canal in Nicaragua has gained new attention. Could this $50 billion project finally provide the solution to the issues plaguing Panama's canal? Only time will tell, but the reality of global trade could soon shift in unexpected ways.